This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, this is one of the perfect shows. These last two shows of the month, which is shocking to me to say this, because it's really about marketing. And one of the things that we are going to be kissing on is, did you make any resolutions about your book marketing and your book status and your book author success at the very beginning of this month? And how are you doing? So here's what we're going to be talking about. My guest today it's been a while since I've had Susan on, but Susan Gilbert is one of the top 50 marketing influencers, along with one of my personal favorites, Seth Golden, who I faithfully read every morning. And she is known as the her ICANN brand for visibility, for business building, leadership, for entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, as well as speaker. And she's a true believer in walking your talk. She went from being a very young widow whose only skills were clerical to a six-figure sales guru. And she's created multiple businesses and sold them over the last 30 years. So she is one of these people that believes in a wonderful phrase called a mindful mindset. And she uses that as a keystone to her success. She's also one of us. So she's a #1 Amazon bestselling author for her book, The Land of ICANN. And since then, she has helped hundreds and hundreds of authors go from being no names, no nothing, invisible, to thought leaders. So if you're not following her, she's one of the people that I always read every Monday. SusanGilbert.com should be added to your list. And with that, Susan, welcome to Author U, your guide to book publishing.
Thank you, Judith. It is so fun to be here. And yes, it's been a while since I've been on your show, and I'm always excited whenever I get your invitation. And it's interesting, your invitation came this time as a response to the email that you receive every Monday for my Monday memos, because as you know, I publish 2 blog posts per week. The first one on Monday is always tips, and then the one on Thursday is an article on a particular topic. And so the fact that you got that, you read it, you responded and said, hey, let's do a show together, I was very happy to do that. So thank you.
Oh, that's what we do. So if the topic of our show today is good.
Yes.
Good
yeah,
marketing.
The name that I've been working with for a while is mindful marketing. Good. And it's something that I've developed over the last decade, that is the way I build my audience, but also the way I enjoy supporting my clients' work that gets their message out, whether they're a coach or an author or a business person, and that it feels good. That, I find in particular with authors that marketing can be like a negative word, but it's a misunderstood word, and I know we're going to be talking about that today. So it's kind of a reframe to be mindful about our marketing, but also to feel good about our marketing.
Well, I think, you always feel good if you see results right away. And I think that one of the challenges for a lot of authors is the impatient factor.
Yes.
And they don't see things coming. If they don't see things coming in a nanosecond, it's really the microwave.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things, it's not necessarily the main topic that it falls under the mindful marketing, but it's that what I see often is that authors are so focused on their book, as they should be. Mm-hmm. And then when the book is ready, either from the self-publishing standpoint or because they have a publisher, then they want to start marketing. And you and I both know that the marketing needed to start way before that, so that they have an audience, so that they have somebody to present their information, that they have somebody who's already found them and trusted them and interested in them. Some of the authors that I work with, their followers are like, well, when's the book coming out? When's it coming out? I mean, they are begging for the book because we've set it up that way. Mm-hmm. But when you come out of the gate, I've had some authors contact me. I say, when is your book due out? Oh, next week. Well, there isn't a whole lot we can do for somebody. We can, roll it out more slowly, but there's not a big launch that's going to happen a week later, which kind of brings me to something that you said during the intro about this being such a great time of the year, and it is. We know it starts this wipes the slate clean. We start the year fresh. We look at what worked or didn't work last year, and we have the ability to self-correct. And as a pilot, I think you know that I'm not current anymore, but as a private pilot or anybody who sails, your course is never a straight line. You're always correcting one way or the other to stay on course. And this is such a great time of the year to look at that. And when I was doing press releases and interviews for The Land If I Can when it first came out in 2001, 2002, I loved to do interviews in January because the essence of The Land If I Can is to take one step. Trust, believe, take one step. And what I would always enjoy doing is breaking the myth of setting 15, 20, you put the number down, of New Year's resolutions, because that's a setup for failure.
Boy,
Anyone who sets up multiple, because you're never going to get it all done. You're going to look at yourself at the end of January and feel devastated because you didn't achieve all those things instead of feeling good. So I don't believe in setting New Year's resolutions. I really believe in evaluating what was working, what wasn't working, and pick one thing.
Yeah. What's our goal? What's our objective here?
Exactly.
And what key components do I need to bring together to make it happen? And where do I need help to make it happen?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Am I going to
but when we try to do too much, nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm. And that, I think, kind of wraps up what a lot of people do, Susan. I think that's a standard thing. And I think that's why those mythical, because they are mythical, most of those New Year's, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to, that's one, the personal side, or I'm going to double my income, or I'm going to do that. Let's take this number one, step by step. So that's that first step. What is it?
Exactly. I think you know that I walked the Camino de Santiago last spring.
Ooh.
And it was, yes, and I had given that up. I really thought that was something that I could have done when I was younger or healthier or more fit. But I set the time frame 6 months out. Mm-hmm. And I decided when I was going to do it, and I was completely willing to accept that if I wasn't ready by the time that happened, that I could change the date. But I set a date to aim for that. And then little by little, I was increasing my walking, and then increasing wearing a backpack, and increasing the weight on the backpack. And a month out from doing the original date that I had set, which was May of last year, I was so ready, Judith. And I walked the Camino, did it in 5 weeks, did the whole thing. And I didn't have a blister. I didn't have a tendon pull. I had no issues whatsoever. And it's a whole separate story, which, probably doesn't fit in with the marketing, but I had started a blog because so many people were asking about how I was training and what was the Camino and how was I going to do it. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll just start a blog, and was doing that weekly. And I thought maybe I would blog periodically while I was on the Camino. Well, I ended up blogging every day. And my admin assistant would put the link into some of the Camino forums online. You just cannot imagine. I was getting 10,000 visitors a day to a brand new blog. I've got a book in the process. It's not complete. I'm one of those, cobblers who kids have no shoes because I'm so focused on my clients rather than my own work most of the time. But that example is I picked one thing. I picked something. I set a reasonable date. Like you mentioned the impatience of an author. I didn't say, I'm going to walk it next week, or I'm going to walk it next month. I set a reasonable period of time with a plan and willing to be able to self-correct for that plan if needed, which fortunately I didn't need to. So if we take that same process into marketing, it really isn't as complicated as I think I'm a total believer in social media, but people don't have to be on every social media property. Pick one. Do it really well. Then pick another one.
Yes, Susan, that is such an issue because I think they have to kiss everybody. And I think it's really important to understand that there are some platforms that are really more appropriate for your type of book. Identify them immediately. And one of the things I've always told my authors, and we're going to take a break here in about a minute and a half, but one of the things I've always told my authors, who are your competitors? What are the like-minded people? Look at their websites. What platforms are they on? They're doing some of the pre-work for you. This is not rocket science to figure out. You may love Instagram, but let me tell you, if your reader is not on Instagram, that's not where you concentrate your energies.
Exactly. And that's just being marketing savvy, Judith. I mean, that it's good, solid, basic advice. But if you're not a business person, and most authors, not all, but most authors, especially in the fiction world, they're creatives. Yep. And creatives haven't done this before. And so, your job, my job is keeping people on the straight and narrow and decluttering it and uncomplicating it for them.
Exactly. And although there's a lot on the plate, you can do some decluttering. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. But, I want to tell you our mutual friend, Joan Stewart, the Publicity Hound, is going to be trekking the Camino next year.
I didn't know that. Oh, I've got to reach out to her then. I
don't think she's really announced it yet, but that's
okay.
She's starting to get it. In fact, I went and, pulled down the movie to watch The Walk because I wanted to get into, I'm not with her, but I wanted to mentally know what was going on. So I did that. All right. All right. With me is Susan Gilbert, the fabulous Susan Gilbert. We're talking about mindful marketing, good. And we're going to be back, and we're going to talk about what Tanya Optics.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, with us is Susan Gilbert, and we're talking about, we're talking about her blog, we're talking about all kinds of goody things. But I do want to encourage all of you should be following her blog, susangilbert.com. I'm a faithful follower. I always get a wealth of information and ideas that I can pass on, which is what this is all about. And we're talking about really mindful marketing. That good. Remember your Campbell soups. It's soups. It's wintertime. It's a little cold out there. It's a little damp out there. A cup of soup is perfect. So think about that.
And we want to feel good. It makes us feel good.
Yeah.
And so it's also a reframe for anyone who is marketing adverse to realize it can feel really good.
And that's the number one thing for me. It's just number one. So I think that you want to have fun while we're doing this. So let's talk about, Susan, a little bit, some of the shiny objects that kind of fell through the wayside last year, and what kind of newfangled tactics might we be working on?
The Monday tips list, and then at the end of the year, for anyone who goes to the blog, they'll find that on December 28th, we did top tools and apps of 2017 to improve your brand reach. And so we try really hard, my assistant and I, to stay on the pulse of what's new and testing things out because of the exposure that I will give to different apps and programs. If I believe that it's worthwhile sharing, then I get the opportunity to test out a lot of things. And I get a lot of great exposure as a result also, because if they like the article, they will republish it on their blogs. And so it's a good marketing. It's a win-win marketing situation. However, kind of going back to what we were talking about before the break, is that unless you have a solid marketing plan in place, unless you're a Judith Briles or a Susan Gilbert, unless you've been out there and you understand the lay of the land, and you've got your solid website, you've got solid followings on your social media, you've got a winning combination, like I've just described, of how you can evaluate a situation and create value for the people that you're evaluating and value for yourself, my advice is to steer clear. When you were talking earlier about the authors don't understand that it's about going out and finding someone who is in their marketplace for their book, their topic, and look at what those people are doing. Are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook? Are they primarily on LinkedIn? It's a big difference whether it's a fiction book or a nonfiction, and who your audience is. And I know this would drive you crazy, but one of the things that just drives me nuts when I first speak with an author, and I'll say, okay, who is your target market? Who is your audience?
Oh, I know.
And what do we hear? Everyone.
Oh no, it's a classic.
It's classic. And so because we're dealing with creatives often, and even somebody, unless, let's say it's a local plumber and he's written a book on plumbing and he knows that's somebody who knows exactly who he's talking to, but that's rare. That hardly ever happens, for you or I to have somebody like that. So what I would like to advise people is, even though I have these tips on Monday, and it's great to be a part of the blog, the Thursday articles are more the in-depth coverage of different topics, and you have to start where somebody is. And if you're a brand new author, or you're an author who hasn't gotten traction with their books, build the foundation first. Don't look at the shiny objects, because as you mentioned, maybe a shiny object is somebody likes to do photography, and so they like to put up pictures on Instagram. However, the pictures that they're putting up on Instagram has nothing to do with their book. So it's a disconnect. It's not going to do for them what it could if indeed they had a photography book. Well then, okay, that's a wow. That's a connection. But looking at what I see so much come across my desk, because I am in a place of evaluating, is all the ClickFunnels and the Facebook ads and the Facebook Messenger apps and all these great things that work for some people sometime. But when you're looking for a quick fix, which we've already identified, many authors fall, not all, but many fall into that. Those aren't the quick fixes. They are the black hole of time, energy, and money. And if we keep it simple, if we feel good about what we're doing, if we're mindful, if we've defined what our action steps are, like I defined the action steps for walking the Camino, we're looking at what's going to set us up for success, not set us up for failure. So my advice going into 2018 is evaluate where you are, and are you ready to do Jeff Walker, I love him to death. Known Jeff for many, many years. We met at a SEO conference in, I think it was 2003 in Florida. John Reese, which nobody knows that name, but he was the guru back then with Traffic Secrets. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Walker was just starting out with his product launch. Sometimes I'll have an author come to me. They don't have a website. They don't have social media. And they'll say, well, what do you think about Jeff Walker's product launch? That's like your MBA in marketing. If you've done all the other things, you've got all the basics covered, fine. Go ahead and invest your time, effort, and energy into that. But if you're not, let's keep it simple. Let's look at what are the things, what is marketing? Because the heart of your business success, and any author who has a book is in business, and the heart of your business success lies in marketing. And if you don't have a basic marketing plan in place, you sure as heck don't need to do MBA tactics. Do you agree with that, Judith?
Yeah, totally. I mean, okay, this is what I've always said. You don't have to have an MBA or a PhD. What you need to be is GOOD. And so you got to know what you're good at and what you can handle and what you can't handle.
Exactly.
I think, and this is where the overwhelm comes in all the time, Susan. With people, and actually, you've been chatting. I've been looking over your blog, and I don't remember seeing this blog, with your top deals. So I'm going to go back and really, a lot of the tools I'm totally tuned into, but I love to learn new tools. And
you're in the right place for that because you've achieved so much. You've got all your foundation in place. You've got a really solid foundation, and so you can investigate just like I do the newer things, and when appropriate, for the right client, make that suggestion. But I think the issue that happens so often is that it's the deer in the headlight. People, when they're first starting out, don't know, and they're looking for that easy button, the quick fix, and they launch onto something that's way ahead of where they need to be. And just keeping it simple, keeping your market so that you're finding your community, you know who that community is, you become active in that community, people begin to know you and trust you. So that whole know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. That's who people do business with. That's who people buy products with. And even if you're a fiction author, I mean, you have a story to tell. J.K. Rowling, I mean, she had a story to tell. People here in Seattle, of course, Maria Semple of Where'd You Go, Bernadette, is very popular because she lives in Seattle. We have a lot of great authors in Seattle, and she's a personality. So, when you have a nonfiction book and it's a business product, there's one way of approaching it, but you can definitely find your community as a fiction author, be active, be a person in it, but you can't really sit at home in your pajamas with your slippers on and just keep writing without some marketing process and plan.
Yeah, well, I think one of the problems with the internet is because people could sit home in their jammies or whatever it is, and do that, and they still forget. I have had more discussions with people Do you just try to learn by clicking away, or maybe you need to get dressed and go find a brick thing? And I'm a believer you do both.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in all honesty, if it's a brand new person, they will do better face-to-face.
Yes, exactly.
And grow the online secondary to that. I've been around the block for so long, and people know me, and so I can be a little bit of a hermit. I can stay here, although last night one of my I have a premier coaching plan that I work with people. They do VIP days here at my home, and one of them happens to live in Seattle, and I got together with he and his wife. He's a brand pioneer, he's a very big man in his industry. But we got together last night for dinner, and it was lovely. You know, that being face-to-face with your current clients, with your future clients is so important.
Oh, you know what? I had actually dinner last night also with one of my clients, and I'm working on her book that needs massive rewrites. And she was literally saying to me, if I put a couple more zeros on my check, can you just bump them all out? And I said, I can't do that. You know, Other people are ahead of you. I mean, I have to, you'll get done, but you're not going to, for the work I'm seeing that needs to be done now, it's not going to be done in 2 weeks. This is a longer term project. And I think it's all important for everyone to understand. Marketing is always a marathon. And in fact, it's a series of marathons.
It's a continual. Think about the 500 miles walking the Camino. It happened one step at a time, and it was continuous.
And some of those steps are a lot easier than others, and I think that that's always important. And there's sometimes when you can coast, and it's so much fun, but you can get caught up in a coast thinking it's always going to be that way until bang, you hit a pothole, and you've got to do a little regrouping. And I think that's what, Susan and I have both been there, done that. And you continue to move on. So, I mean, having an expert like Susan in your corner, reading those blogs on Mondays and Thursdays that come out at susangilbert.com is really a plus. And with that, we're going to be right back. It's Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing. I'm Judith Briles, your book shepherd.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, with me is Susan Gilbert of susangilbert.com. Follow her blog, highly recommended. We're talking about mindful marketing. Good. Perfect for 2018. I'm Judith Briles, and we are going to, I always love it talking with my guests off air for a few minutes, and that Susan talks about trust marketing and why it's important. And I think I'd like to kiss on that, because what is trust marketing in your opinion? And it sounds like a good thing.
Well, marketing in general is simply the building of trust and empathy with a specific group of people and doing it consistently, communicating with them. That's all marketing is. And so when you are doing the communication, that building of trust is the cornerstone of it, because without it, sales won't happen. As we mentioned just before the break, it's a catch-all term, but people do business and they buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So trust has to have three things. You have to have your brand, like who are you and what do you stand for, your authority, what is your expertise, or, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, what is it that is your background and who your story, as we refer to it, works really well to have stories about yourself when you're a fiction author, and what is your solution? And as we think about fiction, where your solution is a good Sunday afternoon read, or it's a business hack and showing you how to do something. But trust comes from your expertise, communication, social proof, testimonials, media mentions, guest posts. You know how that goes, Judith. And so it has to be earned. And your audience has to believe in who you are and what you do. And if they don't trust you, and you can lose money. Once you lose trust, you've lost your audience.
Yeah, it's very difficult to rebuild. Very difficult.
It is. And one of the things that I see happen so often is, it can often be, marketing can be referred to as slime ball tactics, kind of, we're certainly seeing a lot of that out there, and you and I were talking a little bit about it during the break, and it's that continual pitching and selling. But when you have empathy, when you are building your groups and you're going out, whether it's in person or via social media, when you can listen and notice your audience and not just what they're saying, but the reasons that they're saying it, then you're building that trust with people, and you're being yourself. You're being transparent. People will gravitate to you because, we both know that regardless of how great your book is if you aren't reaching the right people, you won't have a business. You won't be selling books. And no book is too good to say, oh, it's just going to stand on its own. People, you have to be willing to put the face, the personality, the brand out there and build the trust that goes along with that. And one of the things that makes me so sad is when I've worked with a client and maybe we've done a website, we've set up social media for them, I get them to make a few blog posts, and that's part of the launch of the website. We have emails, which we're going to talk a little bit about that in terms of what's most important on your websites. But and then I go back a month or two later, and they've done nothing. They're not communicating. They think that they've got like their business card, their credentials, but trust marketing is getting out there, communicating with people, and building trust and rapport.
Well, the bottom line is that, for me, the bottom line often is that your website is the first window there, actually, because that's your internet portal. At least I think it should be, where people can come and check you out.
It's your home base. It's your home base. And when somebody comes to a website and they see that a blog post hasn't been made since June of 2016, what do you think they think of your home?
Number one, no one's there.
Exactly.
Boring. It's boring. And that this person really isn't interested. I mean,
they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about their audience. They don't care about the people that are coming to them. When an author turns that around and they really know who their audience is, and they really care about their audience, and they're communicating with their audience, it's a win-win. And that's what trust marketing is. And that's why it's important.
Perfect. Yes, that is perfect. And that I think that for a website, I'm going to go back to the website. I mean, that's one of the primary, I've always told authors, in my opinion, one of the primary purposes of your website is to develop trust. That develop trust as you as the expert or, the storyteller or whatever it is. That it is to provide content, and that's that updated. When's the last blog that went out? Was it, 7 years ago? And when I have people say, well, I try to blog every quarter, I said, no, you're not.
And that's one thing with the two, and 2 times a week is a lot. I wouldn't expect any of my clients to do that, but it's what I feel comfortable doing. But I really care. I know you really care about your clients, and people know that. I don't have to sell them anything. They come to me.
Well, and the other side of that is, and there's different ways to shortcut it. I mean, you said your Thursday is a more in-depth blog, and Monday is all these teas, and I'll jump on and I look at that and kind of thing. For me, I actually have I have a newsletter that goes out on Monday morning. On Tuesday, I have a blog go out that is sometimes they're shorties, but sometimes they're deep. Thursday, I always have the top 10 Twitter tweets. It's kind of a little fun and that kind of thing. And then sometimes I have special announcements that I shoot up. But every Monday, every Tuesday, every Thursday, that goes out. So it's a consistency. I think it's a consistency which is important that people know.
It's huge. Keeping in mind, marketing is simply building up trust and empathy with a specific group of people by consistently communicating with them. You can't just do it once in a while or when you're in the mood. It's part of your marketing plan.
Exactly. So that's for all of you. And then the last thing is that you've got trust, you've got content, and that it should be a name gatherer, a list builder.
Yes. And in fact, one of the things that I had said that I wanted to bring up and mention is, gasp. Colors, fonts, designs are not the most important part of your website. Being creatives, authors often think, if I have a pretty website, if it matches my book cover, if it is the layout is the newest, greatest flat screen, whatever it might be, that will sell my book, and it doesn't. Because the most important thing that your website does is it begins to establish, we're talking about that trust, a little bit of trust and interest, but it makes people want to sign up for your mailing list. And when your website does this, then it becomes a conversion machine. That email is the email that will go out to people when you have a book launch, or when you have a speaking engagement, or you have a product that you've developed as a result of the book. And the website, it's also something that should be up the second you have an idea for a book, not when you have something to sell, because that takes time. The bringing in the emails, it's much easier to sell a book to 1,000 people that are on your email list than it is to nobody and hoping that they find you on Amazon or wherever you've listed your book. Mm-hmm. So the most important thing isn't the colors, the fonts, the designs. I think a well-designed and attractive site is important, but the most important thing is that your website's goal is to turn everyone that's a match for you and your topic into a subscriber, because one website visit is one chance to convert them. A mailing list subscriber gives you continuous chances to be able to get out there and form that trust and that empathy and that rapport, and then they want to buy from you.
Which is a fabulous thing to have happen. All right. So, I love colors. I love lots of color. So, but they're not the key thing. That's really what Susan is emphasizing. What fancy fonts and all that. It is actually, I think readability is really important.
Huge. And it's keeping it simple. Again, It's that whole keeping it simple and not making things so complicated. Another question that I get asked so often when either I'm evaluating a website for someone or redoing it or we're starting from scratch is they ask about SEO. And SEO is really what got me online.
Okay, so Susan, here's what I want you to hold that because we're going to take our final break and then we have 12 minutes. And SEO is really important. And there are changes all the time going on in that. So I'd love to get into that and a little bit more. And I think that expands it. And maybe if time fits, maybe we can kiss on a couple of your top tools that you mentioned in the blog on December 28th from your website. All right, with that, it's Author You, your guide to book publishing. I'm Judith Briles, and with me today is Susan Gilbert.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207 or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
One of the most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Okay, well, here we have the wrap-up as we go into, and there's some really big topics. One is SEO, as Susan Gilbert talked about. We need to come back to that. And we also, she has something called the lasso technique. So we're going to, I'm intrigued because I love those kind of phrases. But Susan, let's talk about SEO because people are all over the place on SEO, search engine optimization, for those of you who want me to re-identify what SEO is. And that ties into feeding the Google gods and whatever gods we also have to feed. But tell me what's going on.
Okay. In order to tell you where things are now, I want to back up to where things used to be because I think that's where so many people are still stuck. Okay. SEO is, when I first got into online publishing, is what I fell madly in love with. I loved the idea, and I'm a math person, and so there was something about just, the algorithms and being able to use the meta tags and the words and the key. It just worked. It was like, here's a formula for making things work. And that formula, which was, all the keyword information, it worked really well until social media. And then social media started being the feeders that would bring things back to a website, not necessarily Google. And Google then made it so difficult to be able to rank because the number of people online increased dramatically. So now there's more competition. Google's got its algorithms. Now it's wanting people to not get natural ranking in search. Now they want you to pay for the advertising in search. And so the things changed so that if you put your emphasis on the social media, that was the way that you brought people in, and that's the way you were optimizing. Here's how you want to win at SEO today. Today, SEO works when your content is useful. It's really everything we've been talking about, Judith. Your goal with SEO is to answer your audience's questions, concerns, information better and more thoroughly than anyone else online. And so search engines also like good answers. And good answers means fresh content, detailed information, and make it interesting with personality and not just hard data. And when you start to structure your content for people rather than search engines, because we're in a community space now, we're not going to win at the Google game anymore. Not even the Google employees know what Google actually favors, because it's basically a smart machine, and it's the algorithm that makes decisions by itself a lot of the times. So what we want to do is optimize for our audience all the trust marketing that we've been talking about, all the consistency that we've been talking about. We want to break up our content in easy-to-read and scannable sections with headings, lists, and images. And if you take a look at any of my blog posts, that's what you're going to see. It's the template for what is working today. And when you do that, and you're not just unnaturally stuffing keywords into everything, use the keywords or phrase that's right for the topic in your title. Search engines are smart enough to know what you're writing for. You really don't have to get into all the meta tag stuff like we did years ago. Then when we're adding relevant links to our content to both trusted external sources, which is what I do in my tips, and other, we constantly link from one blog post to another blog post on my site that is of similar content, so it's internal linking. That's all you need to do with SEO. The days when I would sell an SEO package to a brand new website, I don't do that anymore. It's not money well spent, and I'm not a publishing predator. So that's not something that I would ever advise to somebody, because the best tools are free. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Google Analytics to track your stats and referrals, sales, and goals. So many people don't have Google Analytics. It's been installed on their website, and it just takes a couple minutes to do it. And if they install it, they don't look at the analytics. If you install it and you watch it, that's all that you need. Additional free things that Google will give you is Google Webmaster Tools to be able to track your position and keywords when people are searching and finding your site online. Google has a free keyword planner to help plan what words to use when you're writing your answers to the questions that people are asking you about that you're wanting to respond and build trust with. And then the all-in SEO, Yoast SEO WordPress plugin, it takes care of everything and gives you, what have you filled in the metadata and the site maps and just like fill in the blanks. So you have everything that you need. You just need to do it. And those are the important foundations that we've been discussing the whole time on this call, where you're building that foundation and not following shiny objects. If you just keep it basic and do it well, your clients will follow you and they're going to buy from you.
Which makes a huge difference. I mean, isn't that the goal? I mean, if you have a website, if you have a book to sell or other stuff to sell, you want them to come, you want them to hang out, you want them to explore, you want them to stay, you want to push the buy button. That's what you're after. You want to, and of course, then you gather the name. But they get pulled in, that bright, shiny object. It goes back to so many people buy stuff. Actually, the great majority of people get attracted by the latest pitch, the latest gadget, the latest blingy thing that's out there, and they never begin.
They never implement. Implementation is just as important as consistency. And if you take on more than you can implement, it's a setup for failure. Mm-hmm. You do the basic stuff and you do it well and you do it consistently, you're going to win every time. Which kind of brings us to the last topic that I'd given you the little teaser called the lasso technique.
Rope them in.
So let's talk about the way we rope in those clients, because it's actually just what we've been talking about again on the call. It's just a fun way to think about it, because whether someone's just starting out or you're starting over again, your audience is out there. You just don't know who your people are yet if you haven't followed the advice that you mentioned early on in this conversation that we're having. Mm-hmm. You have to know who your target market is, and you can do that by finding other people that are writing about the same topics. And when you find your audience and then you start to do the things that we've been discussing by giving good content on your website, giving a good free download in exchange for their email address, and you start to show your audience how awesome you are and how valuable your work is, then you've got to go to them and lasso them in and bring them into your world. So it simply means going to your audience where they currently spend their time and drawing them back to your work. Is it getting a blog post printed or published on a popular blog for your topic? I write for many different blogs, and they get syndicated out to entrepreneur.com and to Yahoo B2B, and I get people that come to me from that. I get people that come to me from LinkedIn because I'm publishing articles on LinkedIn. I have a really good exposure on LinkedIn. And so people come to me. I'm putting the information out there at where they gather. And then basically I'm lassoing them with good stuff. And then they come to me because the outreach, it's important always. I mean, I've been in this game a long time. I haven't stopped doing it. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I'm doing this work. But it's really important in the beginning. It's that most important big first step that you do is you get all these things that we've been discussing in place and then go out and do the outreach. It works because you're reaching your potential audience in places that they're already engaged, and you're turning someone of them into one of your audience members because they know, like, and trust you.
And that is really, now we're back to the trust word. Actually, we have circled back all the way with your lasso technique, really with what we're talking about in building the whole trust arena. That's so important. How you do it, you find out what like-minded people are doing. You find out what where they are. I guess we have to start out with who in the heck is our market. And that is one of the biggest failures that I see with authors. It is not everyone. It is never everyone, period. Narrow, narrow, narrow. And so who else are they reading or following? And
I think for all of us, when we're first starting out and we want everybody, we're afraid that narrowing the market means we're losing out.
I know.
In fact, it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's the author confidence factor. And with that, all right, we're going to wrap up here. Fabulous, Susan. We're going to have back, and then Susan and I are going to do a show about marketing predators down the road, which we've never done anything like that, and I think that's very cool. So Susan Gilbert at susangilbert.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judith.
You're welcome. All right, it's Author You, your guide to book publishing. Happy writing. Happy publishing.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week,